Criminals run rampant in Minneapolis. We'll trace the decline from the George Floyd riots to today. An encounter with law enforcement highlights the increasing disrespect for officers and how that necessarily leads to escalation. And we'll check in on Omar Fateh, who is now the Democrat-endorsed candidate for mayor of Minneapolis. There's some resurfaced video of him palling around with Feeding Our Future fraudsters. Welcome to Closing Argument.
4, 3, 2. Closing Argument with Walter Hudson.
Minneapolis, the city of lakes, the Minneapolis, Mill City. Described over the years as a cultural powerhouse for its arts, music, and entertainment venues. Known historically as an outdoor paradise with its elaborate system of parks and trails, which drew tourists from the East and the South during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Considered a progressive gem due to its history of inclusiveness and vibrant neighborhoods. Come to today. And now, what Minneapolis is best known for is its unchecked and increasingly rampant crime. Just 5 years ago, organized criminals were allowed to burn much of the city to the ground, like a barbarian horde conquering Rome. In Minneapolis alone, the total cost in property damage was $500 million, and that's the estimate for Governor Tim Walz's own administration. At least 1,300 separate buildings were damaged or destroyed, disproportionately affecting immigrant-owned and minority-owned businesses. In one case, a $30 million affordable housing project with 189 units under construction was torched. Governor Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey let the violence go unchecked for days. When the 3rd precinct of the Minneapolis Police Department came under siege by domestic terrorists, officers were ordered to stand down and pull out. They had to extract themselves while under attack from a mob, like a scene out of some third world insurgency. And things haven't gotten much better since. If you call 911 in Minneapolis and you're reporting anything less than an active shooter, you can expect a response time of somewhere between half an hour and over 2 hours. Residents have come to expect this, so we can presume that they've factored that into their calculation of whether or not it's even worth it to make that call. Less crimes reported create the illusion of less crimes occurring, but that's not the reality. In fact, things have gotten so bad in Minneapolis that residents have been cowed into accepting crime as just the cost of living in their city. Check out this recent report from CBS Minnesota.
Minneapolis police are investigating after dozens of people woke up to their cars broken into. It comes after another rash of break-ins just last week. Jennifer Hoff is here. And Jennifer, where are these crimes happening?
Well, it kind of varies, Rena, all over the place, from Northeast, even the U of M campus, to Uptown and the Whittier neighborhoods. Residents, they're saying it's not if, but when this will happen to you.
In southwest Minneapolis, the food and art scene has kept Robin Slayman living here
18 years, yeah.
for a long time. The uptick in crime, though, will be what forces her to leave.
Needles on everyone's property. They leave trash everywhere. And if you leave anything sitting out on your property, it will be gone like that.
Just this morning, dozens of vehicles had windows damaged, shattered glass left all over the street.
I'm not shocked, but I haven't quite seen that before.
Not just in the Whittier neighborhood. Less than 2 miles away, video posted on social media shows the same crime just west of Uptown, where Joel Van Horn lives.
It's always these 2 streets right here, this one and then the other side. I've seen it.
He moved in a month ago, looking forward to more walks with his dog, not vandalism.
I mean, I knew it was going to happen if I didn't get a parking garage. It's just like, yeah, I didn't act fast enough, you know? So you kind of just factor that into the cost of living, unfortunately, you know?
A new window cost him hundreds of dollars, but for Robin Slayman, peace of mind is priceless.
I love my home, but how much longer do I want to live here? How much worse do I want to see it get?
Police haven't responded to our questions about this latest crime spree, but in an email last week said investigators are, quote, working diligently to collect information and identify suspects, telling victims to remember they can always call 911, of course. There's also 311, or they can file a report online, reminding people to park in well-lit areas and take any valuables with you. And Rena, that's what we heard from a lot of the victims tonight, is they don't leave anything in their vehicles. So while they may have a window broken or know that the car has been rifled through, at least nothing was taken.
Nothing important taken. It's unsettling, to say the least.
Really much so.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Jen.
That's a sad testament. When you have residents saying things like, if you leave anything of value on your property, you can expect it to be gone like that, or having your car window smashed in is just part of the cost of living in Minneapolis. Those are people who've been beat down. They've given up. They don't expect any better. And they should. My constituents do. There's no way anyone living in Wright County, Minnesota, just 40 minutes outside of Minneapolis, would tolerate conditions like that. I mean, if even just one car got its window smashed in, our deputies would be out patrolling the streets, apprehending any perpetrator, and our county attorney is going to see to it that that person is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That's our community's expectation. And it's born out of our self-esteem. People who feel like they have inherent worth and dignity also tend to feel like they deserve safety, deserve their rights upheld, deserve to have their property and persons protected. And they demand policy and action that provides that environment. The problem in Minneapolis is that its governing philosophy does not treat all people equally. The city of Minneapolis implicitly tells its residents, in essence, that they deserve to be victimized in order to effect equity. We can't have police stopping suspicious characters on the street or tracking down suspects based on a physical description, because that leads, they argue, to systemic racism informed by implicit bias. So you're just going to have to deal with having your property stolen, your car window smashed in, your business looted, your residential building torched. It's more important to keep even one minority suspect from feeling oppressed than it is to protect the life, liberty, and property of Minneapolis residents. That's the expectation. And many of the people who live there have apparently surrendered to that demand. It's sad. Related to the rise in crime, whether it's reported or not, and the shift in culture where victims now apparently feel like they just have to roll over and take it, another trend we've seen rising in recent years is defiance of law enforcement and escalation of situations which should be relatively simple because the subjects involved seem to think that they don't have to comply with lawful orders. Check out this clip of a guy who was pulled over for a simple traffic violation, and watch how he insists upon escalation by refusing lawful orders.
Can you call your supervisor? Can you call your supervisor?
All right, go for it.
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason why you're popping the door open like that?
I don't have a window that works. Is there a reason that you're pulling me over?
Yeah, absolutely there's a reason why I'm pulling you over. For one thing, inclement weather, you don't have your lights on. Two things, you're not wearing your seatbelt.
It's daylight. I don't need the lights. And it's not weather. It's not raining.
Oh, this is inclement?
It's not raining.
Okay, I'm not arguing with you. I'm telling you why I'm pulling you over. Give me your driver's license, registration, proof of insurance.
No, call your supervisor. Why?
Excuse me?
Call your supervisor.
Step out of the vehicle.
No.
Step out of the vehicle. 25 seconds. For 9-4, the driver just slammed the door and locked it.
Call your supervisor.
I've already told you. Right now you're under arrest for resisting. Sir, this is your last warning to open the vehicle and exit before we're going to break the window. Open the door and exit or we are going to break the window. Open the door and exit or we are going to break the window. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. I'm about to break the window.
All right, go for it.
Exit the vehicle now! Exit the vehicle!
What is your reason, sir? Step out. What is your reason? Step out now. Don't fucking.
Put your hands behind your back! Hands behind your back!
You gonna throw my phone like that, bro? Yeah, I'm gonna take it off of you, bro. Marijuana in his right pocket.
Yes, it is!
So I didn't do nothing.
It's called resisting, idiot!
My understanding is that this incident was originally being held up by the left as an example of an innocent black man being attacked by police. But as you can see, there's nothing innocent about this guy whatsoever. When you're given a lawful order, it's your responsibility to comply. If you fail to comply, if you run, if you shut the door and lock it, then you leave law enforcement with no other choice than to escalate their efforts to apprehend you. I mean, what did this guy think was going to happen? Did he actually think that he was just going to hole up in his car and the cops would just decide to go away? Did he think that this supervisor that he was asking for was going to show up on the scene and side with him? I mean, what was the play here? Now, I sit on the House Public Safety Committee here in Minnesota, and we've had many conversations about the interactions of law enforcement with the community. We've heard a number of bills aimed at making it harder for police officers to effectively conduct traffic stops or to effectively investigate suspicious activity. And one of the lines that I've heard again and again, and it just blows my mind, is that we shouldn't blame people, especially black people, for fleeing from the cops because they're scared. I've heard Democrat representatives actually say on more than one occasion, of course black people run from the cops. They're scared. You'd run too. Now, there are multiple things wrong with that thought process. First of all, speaking as a black man, which is not a card I like to play, but it's relevant in this case, no, I would not run from the cops ever under any circumstances. I mean, why would I flee from the cops? What possible reason could I have? Under what circumstances would running from the cops lead to a better outcome than compliance? And listen, I'm allowing for the possibility in this hypothetical scenario that the cops are doing something wrong. Let's say they pulled me over without cause. Let's say they're lying about me having a light out in my car. Let's say they're planting drugs in my car and trying to frame me. Even then, even under those circumstances, running from the cops is a terrible idea. It's not going to make any of those situations better. It's not as if there's some magic finish line somewhere that once crossed is going to reset the system and everyone's just going to forget what was going on. I mean, seriously, I wonder truly if there are some people that think that real life is like Grand Theft Auto, where you just have to get outside a certain zone and hunker down long enough until your wanted meter goes away. And then it's back to the gun shop because there's no more heat, right? But this isn't a video game. If the cops want you, they're going to get you. The only question is, how dangerous are you going to make it for them and who's going to get hurt along the way? Even in the case where law enforcement has acted inappropriately, you're not going to effectively combat that by failing to comply with their orders. Setting that aside, this idea that it's reasonable for a black man to be afraid of the police just because he's black is ludicrous. And perpetuating that idea, the idea that police are out there hunting black people for fun, is why incidents like this happen. When you have elected officials and university professors and members of the mainstream media all out there telling young black men, the popo's coming for you, they're going to get you, that leads to escalations like this that would not otherwise have happened. That's the great irony here. The leftist narrative actually puts these subjects in more danger. And the cynical side of me suspects that that might be the point, because then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you start from the narrative of black people ought to be afraid of the cops, and then a black man does something like this out of fear, and the police rightfully escalate because that's their job, then it becomes another example of so-called police brutality to bolster the claim that black people should be afraid. But this has nothing to do with race. This guy's window wasn't smashed in because he's black. It was smashed in because he resisted arrest. If he had simply complied from the start, no escalation would have been necessary. And when I say comply, I'm talking from the start, from the moment he's asked for his license and insurance. The only reason they even asked him to step out of the car was because he failed to comply with showing his license. Now, is anyone seriously going to argue that a cop shouldn't ask for your license and insurance during a traffic stop? Is there anyone, anywhere, who's going to make that argument? Please, show yourself. I want to meet the person who thinks you shouldn't have to show your license and proof of insurance to a police officer during a traffic stop. because that's what you'd have to believe in order to argue that this subject's actions were appropriate or that the cops acted inappropriately. I want to take a minute to dig a bit deeper here and share why I care so much about this topic, why it's so important for us to discuss and think about clearly. When you fail to comply with law enforcement, it's not really the cops that you're defying. It's the rest of us. It's society. It's your community. We have laws in place to maintain order. And I know for some people, the word order comes across like a harsh word, but trust me, you want order. You want to be able to travel in a vehicle or on foot in a world where people stay in their lane and don't drive on the sidewalk and stop at red lights, and yes, have their headlights on in the rain. You want that because it keeps you safe and because the alternative is chaos. So we have these laws that we put into effect to ensure that order so that we can each go about our day free from chaos. And the only way those laws work is if they're enforced. The words on paper don't magically force people to abide by them. And so when you defy lawful orders from law enforcement, what you're really defying is the law itself, and more important than that, the people who produced it, which is us. It astounds me that I have to explain this like I'm talking to a kindergartner, but I really do get the sense that a lot of people on the left sincerely don't understand this. The reason for Back the Blue, the reason we honor our law enforcement and first responders, the reason we support these officers is because they are us. They are quite literally our agents in the field, enforcing our will as expressed through our laws. And so when you defy them, you're defying all of the rest of us. You're defying the people. And you don't get to do that just because you harbor some irrational fear. Being afraid does not exempt you from the law, nor does being black. I don't know what else to tell you. Part of your responsibility to your fellow citizens is to abide by our laws and to comply with our officers who enforce those laws. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it, but you do have to do it. And if you don't, you can expect to be dealt with appropriately by those who we've entrusted with the task of dealing with what you have become, a criminal. We keep coming back to the subject of Minneapolis mayoral candidate Omar Fateh, who has now been officially endorsed by the Democrat Party and holds radical socialist views. Video has resurfaced of Fateh addressing a crowd affiliated with Feeding Our Future. You likely recall that Feeding Our Future was at the center of the largest COVID-related fraud scheme in the nation. That fraud took place right here in Minnesota. And apparently, Omar Fateh was cheering it on. I want you to listen to these comments and listen carefully. What you're going to hear is Fateh's priority number one, the chief concern that was driving him while hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud was occurring right under his nose. Listen to this.
My name is Omar Fateh. I'm the state senator for District 62, which is in South Minneapolis. I want to thank first all of you for sticking together, for working together, for fighting. I want to thank our organizers, Mahad, Ikram, other folks that helped lead this fight. And I want to thank also Amy and her team, Feeding Our Future, for making this first court victory a reality. So first, I want to say thank you to all of you. This was a fight that has been going on for a long time. I've been hearing about this for several months now. And when our office first got involved, it got involved because of all of you getting together. I remember Ikram calling us to an event here in South Minneapolis, organized by her and Amy. And at that time, we saw a couple hundred of you coming out, right? Speaking out about the stop payments, the money that was being stopped from your reimbursements. Immediately when I got there, I was extremely proud of all of you and surprised. And I had Dawson immediately take a picture of what was going on, and we emailed it out to the governor's office saying, this is a whole lot of folks that are being affected right now. And literally within minutes, it was a Friday afternoon that happened, within minutes they emailed us back saying, let's meet Monday morning. So that was because of the power of all of you that happened. And in that meeting, So in that meeting, we were asking what was going on, and we asked very directly, was there any evidence of fraud? Was there any concerns or suspicions? And they told us that there was zero evidence. Nothing was there. So to us, that was immoral, what was going on. And I see this most recent victory coming from not just our office, but our other electeds, from Ilhan's office and Ali that's here, from the Feeding Our Future staff, from all of you coming together, because it's not just the East African fight, just like our brother just said right now. It was affecting our Black community, our Latino community, our minority kids, our working families, all of us. And MDE and the state that's already failing all of us, coming in consistently last in terms of servicing our students of color, underperforming schools, and now to have this, I think it's immoral. And for this most recent news to come out that they're trying to make everybody come back and reapply, I think that's wrong, and it shows you that the fight is going to continue. And from what our office has been seeing, that this has been an ongoing issue from MDE, from DHS, whether it's a Democrat administration or Republican administration. Our communities are very concerned. This has been an ongoing thing. Folks that own group homes and home cares and working class people that have now gone into this, experiencing issues from MDH, but now MDE, they've seen this as an ongoing pattern, right? And what I can tell you right now is that the leadership hears you, that folks and at the Capitol hear you, that the pressure is really on, and that they see you, and that it is working. And just like you won in the court right now, I promise you, if you stick together, that our battle ahead, you will be victorious also. But I need all of you to continue to work hard, stick together, keep supporting Amy and showing up like you were doing right now, and don't back down. I know Mahad was talking earlier about folks saying it's a struggle for people to go against the government, and you don't do that. But right now, it's just not all of you. You got government fighting government too. I'm part of government, right? So you got government fighting government right now. So we're all in this together. So thank all of you, and thank you, Amy, once again.
Nowhere in there is any mention of the people who actually receive these services. There's no mention of children being fed or people being housed or services being provided. The only concern lifted up by Fateh was that these entities receiving public funds remain in business, that the money keeps coming, that the payments don't stop. That was the concern. And this is consistent with the way Attorney General Keith Ellison spoke when he met with a group of individuals who would later get indicted in the Feeding Our Future scandal. Listen to this compilation.
I'm very concerned about it. I don't run the agencies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But let me just finish by saying, but often the agencies call on my lawyers to represent them. And so it's good that we're talking, because we've been in a series of conversations with Jody Harpstead as late as a week ago on how you cannot crunch down on these, because here's the thing, is as big as you are collectively, most are pretty small. And you're running small, tiny businesses out of business overnight. And a lot of times, if you think there's a problem, I mean, everybody has to comply with what the rules are. But if somebody submits something that's not in the right format, then you call them and say, this is not in the right format. Not you're out, you're done, your contracts are over. And so this has my attention. I'm extremely frustrated by it, but we are in the middle of a battle with the agencies now. And I can tell you this, Walz agrees with me that this piddly, stupid stuff running small people out of business is terrible. But it's the problem of it's the problem of, it's the classic problem. If he's here and this guy here is giving these businesses a hard time, these folks somehow say, hey, they're picking on me. And he's like, oh, us? No, we're not. And so it's this back and forth. So now what we got to do is make it clear that this guy has got to stop it. Right? But it's the problem. But he knows that there's a lot of unfair, discriminatory stuff going on with East African businesses. I know it. These department heads like, Julie Herbstead now know that we know it. and she says, we're going to stop doing it. But I don't believe it until you tell me they've stopped doing it. Because it's all about when the rubber hits the road, right? Or the car, what's going to happen then? You say you're not doing it. But if some sister who just opened her childcare business is getting the runaround,
absolutely,
then for her, it's real. So we've got to stay specific. There will be cases that, I want you to feel free to call me directly. Feel free to call me directly.
Again, the concern expressed there is for the so-called businesses receiving money from the state. There's no mention of or expressed concern for anybody receiving actual services from those businesses. It's all about getting the money into the hands of the people in that room, regardless of what they do with it after the fact. And that's expressed again and again, concern for keeping people in business. What this suggests is that the fraud epidemic in Minnesota, an epidemic which is approaching 1 billion misappropriated tax dollars, seems to be a feature of Democrat policy rather than a bug. Fraud seems to be the point. Perhaps that's why Ellison plotted against his own clients, state agencies, to put pressure on them to get money out the door to these fraudsters. Perhaps that's why Governor Walz, according to Ellison, agrees with him that payments shouldn't be stopped to a shady business just because they're a little shady. No, we got to keep that money rolling in. Now, past a certain point, it becomes implausible to attribute this level of fraud to mere incompetence. Past a certain point, it becomes far more plausible that it's an intended result of the system as designed, that it's all working perfectly to effect an intended purpose. And it really highlights how egregious it was for House Democrats in Minnesota to refuse to pass a bipartisan bill to create an independent Office of Inspector General, which would have been empowered to dig in and root out this fraud. The bill was thoroughly vetted and developed across party lines and between both chambers of the legislature for the entire session. And it passed out of the Democrat-controlled Senate 60-7. But because the Senate amended it to give it real teeth, police power to truly kick over rocks and root out the scum, suddenly the brakes were put on it in the House. Why? I can't think of an innocent or benign explanation. That's it for today. For X subscribers, YouTube channel members, and audio podcast subscribers, be sure to check out my supporter-exclusive bonus show, The Smoke-Filled Room, where I get a bit more personal and cover a broader range of topics. Join now for immediate access. Take care.